February 2003, Antwerp, Belgium. It's freezing cold. The sky is a flat gray, but underground, the pulse of the world's wealth is beating faster than anywhere else on Earth. You are looking at the Antwerp Diamond Center. This isn't just a building, it is a fortress. 80% of the world's rough diamonds pass through these few city blocks every single day. We are talking about billions of dollars in stones, changing hands, moving from mines to cutters to the rings on fingers across the globe. The district itself is a maze of surveillance, police patrols, and retractable vehicle barriers. A square mile that is arguably one of the most monitored places on the planet outside of a war zone. To even enter the district with a vehicle requires a special permit, and pedestrians are watched by cameras that feed directly to a dedicated police unit. It is a place where paranoia is a professional requirement. But beneath the streets, 2 floors down, sits a vault that the security industry called impenetrable. It was protected by 10 separate layers of security: infrared heat detectors, seismic sensors, magnetic fields, a lock with 100 million possible combinations, and a steel door that weighed 3 tons. This vault was designed to stop armies, let alone thieves. It was the physical embodiment of the phrase, absolute security. The door alone was a marvel of engineering, capable of withstanding 12 hours of continuous drilling, and the sensors inside were calibrated to detect the slightest atmospheric change. Yet, on a quiet weekend in February, a group of men is about to do the impossible. They aren't going to use explosives. They aren't going to use guns. They aren't going to hold anyone hostage. They are going to walk in, empty the most secure safe in the world, and walk out without tripping a single alarm. This is the story of the Antwerp Diamond Heist, the heist of the century. And the most terrifying part? They did it with hairspray, styrofoam, and a roll of electrical tape. Every great heist needs an architect. For this job, it was Leonardo Notarbartolo. Leonardo wasn't your typical criminal. He was an Italian charmer, dressed in bespoke suits, sipping espresso, always smiling. He didn't look like a thief, he looked like a businessman. And that was exactly the point. He possessed a disarming charisma that made him instantly invisible in high society. When he spoke, people listened, but more importantly, they trusted. He was the kind of man who would remember your children's names and bring you a box of chocolates for no reason, weaving a web of goodwill that would later become his cloak of invisibility. But behind the smile was a cold, calculating intellect that viewed the Diamond Center not as a place of business, but as a puzzle waiting to be solved. The heist didn't begin in 2003. It began 3 years earlier, in 2000. Leonardo rented a small office inside the Diamond Center itself. He posed as a diamond merchant. He paid his rent on time, he attended meetings, and he made friends. He spent 3 years building the most valuable tool a thief can have: trust. He'd chat with the guards, talk about football, complain about the weather, maybe offer them a cigar. To them, he was just that nice Italian guy. But every time he walked those hallways, Leonardo wasn't looking at the diamonds. He was looking at the cameras. He was memorizing the shift changes. He was counting steps. In his pocket, he carried a pen. But this wasn't for signing contracts. It was a high-tech spy camera, snapping hundreds of photos of the vault door, the keypad, and the corridors. He was building a blueprint of the impossible. He even went so far as to rent a safety deposit box himself, giving him a legitimate reason to enter the vault room regularly, allowing him to study the enemy from the inside. He noted the brand of the magnetic sensors, the exact model of the keypad, and even the length of the beard on the night watchman.
Leonardo couldn't do this alone. He went back to Italy and assembled a team of specialists known as the School of Turin. These weren't street thugs, they were craftsmen. First, there was the genius, an expert in alarm systems who could disable electronics with his eyes closed. He could look at a schematic and see the flow of electricity like blood in veins. Then, the monster, a giant of a man, not just strong, but a master electrician and mechanic. His nickname came from his ability to handle monstrous tasks, from wiring to heavy lifting, with delicate precision. The King of Keys, an older man, a locksmith legend who could forge a key just by glancing at a photograph of the lock. He had hands steady enough to perform surgery and an encyclopedic knowledge of every locking mechanism made in the last century. And finally, Speedy, a nervous, anxious man, but one who could move faster and quieter than anyone else. He was the paranoid lookout, the one who saw ghosts in every shadow, which kept the team sharp. They rented an apartment near Antwerp and turned it into a training ground. Using Leonardo's photos, they built a full-scale replica of the vault's security systems. They practiced, over and over again. They timed their breathing. They learned to walk without making a sound. They simulated every possible scenario, from a guard returning unexpectedly to a sensor malfunction. They practiced in total darkness, learning to communicate through touch and rehearsed signals. They were preparing for the Super Bowl of crime, and like elite athletes, they knew that muscle memory was the only thing that would save them when the pressure hit. They lived and breathed the heist for months, isolating themselves from the world, existing only for the mission. February 15th, 2003. It's the weekend of the Diamond Games tennis tournament. The city is distracted. The police are busy. Leonardo stays late in his office. When the building empties out, the team moves. They enter through a garage entrance where they had already bypassed the surveillance cameras. They move like ghosts through the dark corridors until they reach the anteroom of the vault. The air is thick with tension, the silence ringing in their ears. Here is where the impossible begins. The vault door is a beast, a 3-ton steel slab with a combination wheel and a key lock. But the King of Keys had already done his work. Months earlier, Leonardo had managed to get footage of the guard's key. The king had filed a perfect duplicate from nothing but a video frame. The combination? They didn't need to crack it. They had likely used surveillance to catch the guard dialing it in, or reset the mechanism during a previous visit. But opening the door was the easy part. The real nightmare was what happened when that door opened. The moment that steel door separates from the frame, a magnetic field breaks, triggering a silent alarm to the police station. The genius steps up. He pulls out a custom-made
Aluminum plate, covered in double-sided heavy-duty tape. He carefully sticks the aluminum bridge across the magnetic sensors on the door frame. This was a moment of surgical precision. If his hand shook, if the alignment was off by a millimeter, the magnetic connection would sever, and the police would be there in minutes. When they swing the door open, the magnets on the door think they are still connected to the frame because of the aluminum bridge. The magnetic field remains unbroken. The alarm stays silent. They are in. But inside the vault, it's pitch black. And it's a minefield. First, the light sensor. If they turn on a flashlight, the sudden change in lux levels triggers the siren. So, they work in the dark. They had practiced the layout so many times, they could do it blind. They taped over the light sensors just to be safe. Second, the seismic sensors. These microphones in the floor are sensitive enough to detect footsteps.
If they walk normally, they get caught. So they don't walk. They move with a specific rhythm, stepping only on predetermined spots, dismantling the threat with the grace of ballet dancers. Third, the heat infrared sensors. This detects the body heat of an intruder. You can't hide your body heat. Or can you? The genius pulls out a weapon, not a laser jammer, not a hacking device, a can of women's hairspray. He sprays a thick mist of hairspray over the infrared sensor. The oil and chemicals create a temporary insulating film. It blinds the sensor just long enough for them to get close and place a styrofoam box over it. The sensor is now blind to the heat in the room. Finally, the internal magnetic field sensors. They use simple electrical tape to bridge the circuits. One by one, 10 layers of the world's most advanced security are defeated by household items you can buy at a grocery store for under $20. They are inside, surrounded by hundreds of safety deposit boxes. The silence in the vault was heavier than the steel door itself. They communicated in hand signals, a language developed over months of practice. The monster set up his custom drill. It wasn't a store-bought tool. It was a piece of engineering brilliance, designed to apply maximum torque with minimum noise. The sound of metal shearing against metal was deafening to their heightened senses, sounding like gunshots in a library. But outside, nothing. The soundproofing of the vault worked in their favor. With every pop of a lock, a new universe of wealth was revealed. It wasn't just diamonds. There were family heirlooms, letters that could ruin reputations, and bonds that were untraceable. They were looting the secrets of the Antwerp elite. They start stuffing duffel bags. They work feverishly. They open over 100 boxes. There is so much loot that they can't even take it all. They are literally walking on diamonds scattered on the floor because they don't have time to pick them up. It's the dream of every thief. But greed is dangerous. The plan was to be out by 4 a.m. They push it to 5 a.m. Finally, Leonardo makes the call. That's it. Let's go. They seal the vault. They exit the way they came. They load the bags into a car and drive off into the night, heading toward the highway. They have just pulled off the perfect crime, or so they thought. The drive away is tense. The adrenaline is fading, replaced by paranoia. The plan was simple. Drive to France, burn all the evidence, the clothes, the maps, the leftover food, the tools, and disappear. But Speedy, the nervous one, starts to panic. He's terrified that a fire will attract attention in the early morning darkness. He argues with Leonardo. "We can't burn it. Throw it away, just throw it away." Speedy's panic wasn't just a momentary lapse. It was a psychological collapse. He was hyperventilating, convinced that every passing headlight was a police cruiser. Leonardo, usually the cool general, made a fatal calculation. He chose to appease his teammate rather than stick to the
Protocol. When they threw those bags, they didn't just throw away trash, they threw away their freedom. The bags landed in a ditch, partially obscured but not hidden. It was a sloppy end to a meticulous job, a testament to how fear can dismantle even the most perfect logic. Monday morning, the guards open the vault. Shock, panic. The floor is covered in empty boxes and jewels. The police arrive. The world media goes crazy. The heist of the century. But the police have nothing. No fingerprints. No DNA inside the vault. No signs of forced entry. It's a ghost job. The Diamond Center is in chaos, with merchants weeping in the hallways, realizing their life savings are gone. The detectives are baffled. It looks like magic.
Detective Patrick Pays, who led the investigation, later said it was the strangest crime scene he had ever walked into. The floor was a carpet of diamonds, gold, and cash. It looked like a tornado had hit a jewelry store. But it was the trash that told the story.
A retired grocer who owned a small patch of land near the highway goes for a walk. He sees the garbage bags dumping trash on his property. He gets angry. He calls the police, complaining about littering. The police almost ignore it, but one detective decides to take a look. As he sifts through the mud and leaves, the story begins to unravel. He opens the bag. He finds a half-eaten salami sandwich. He finds a receipt for a video surveillance system. He finds an envelope with Antwerp Diamond Center stamped on it. And he finds a receipt from a grocery store. The receipt from the grocery store wasn't just a slip of paper. It was a timestamp. It allowed police to pinpoint the exact moment Notarbartolo bought his supplies. They cross-referenced it with cell phone tower data. Suddenly, the ghosts had digital footprints. The school of Turin had forgotten that, while they were analog masters, the world around them had gone digital. The manhunt that followed was swift and brutal. Police raided the safe house in Antwerp, but the birds had flown. However, the evidence from the trash bag was a treasure map. The salami sandwich gave them Leonardo's DNA, but it was the other items that doomed the rest of the crew. Small traces of DNA found on the discarded equipment led to the identification of Speedy as Pietro Tavano, a longtime friend of Leonardo. The monster was identified as Ferdinando Finotto and the genius as Elio Donorio. These men, who had lived in shadows, were suddenly the most wanted faces in Europe. They were tracked down in Italy, pulled from their homes and cars, their anonymity shattered. Yet, even as the handcuffs clicked, they remained silent. A classic omerta. They admitted nothing. They gave up no one. And most importantly, they never gave up the location of the diamonds. Leonardo was arrested when he returned to the Diamond Center, arrogantly thinking he was still in the clear, to return his keys and close his office. The police raided the apartment. They found evidence. They eventually caught most of the crew. Leonardo was sentenced to 10 years in prison. But here is the twist. During the trial, Leonardo laughed. He claimed the heist wasn't worth $100 million. He said the merchants had pulled an insurance scam, that most of the boxes were already empty when they opened them. He claimed they only got about $20 million. The insurance fraud theory is where the story shifts from a heist movie to a conspiracy thriller. Notarbartolo testified that he was actually hired by a Jewish diamond merchant to stage the robbery. According to his version of events, the merchant wanted to claim insurance on a failing inventory. He claimed that when they opened the safety deposit boxes, many were already empty or filled with low-value stones. "We were the patsies," he told the court. "We did the work. They took the money." This theory sent shockwaves through the diamond community. The Diamond High Council vehemently denied it, calling it a desperate lie from a convicted criminal. But the seed of doubt was planted. Why was there no comprehensive list of what was stolen? Why did some merchants refuse to file police reports? In the opaque world of diamond trading, where deals are sealed with handshakes and inventory is often kept off the books to avoid taxes, the truth is a fluid concept. And what of the diamonds? The police tore apart Notarbartolo's life. They dug up his garden in Turin. They scanned the walls of his house. They followed his family for years. Nothing, not a single carat of the stolen haul has ever surfaced. Experts believe the diamonds were likely recut within weeks of the heist. A large diamond can be cleaved into smaller, unrecognizable stones, effectively laundering its identity.
These new diamonds would then re-enter the market in Tel Aviv, Mumbai, or Dubai, indistinguishable from legitimate stones. The gold bars were likely melted down, the cash spent or laundered through casinos.
The loot didn't just disappear, it dissolved into the global economy. Leonardo Notarbartolo served his time. He was released in 2009, a free man with a mysterious past. He returned to Italy, where he lives quietly, occasionally giving interviews but never revealing the final secret. Is he a mastermind, sitting on a hidden fortune, waiting for the heat to die down? Or is he, as he claims, a victim of a larger game, a thief who got robbed by his victims? The other members of the School of Turin have also faded into obscurity, their debts to society paid, their lips sealed forever. The vault at the Antwerp Diamond Center has been upgraded, the sensors replaced with newer, smarter technology. But the legend remains. The Antwerp Diamond Heist is more than just a crime story. It is a modern fable about the limits of technology and the power of human ingenuity. It exposed the arrogance of the security industry, proving that no system is perfect if the people watching it are complacent. It showed us that in an age of digital surveillance, the most dangerous tools can be a can of hairspray and a well-timed sandwich. And as long as the diamonds remain missing, the story never truly ends. Somewhere, someone is wearing a piece of history on their finger, completely unaware that it came from the bottom of a trash bag in a Belgian forest, left behind by the men who stole the world. This heist was a masterpiece of analog skills in a digital world. If you want to dive deep into more stories of high-stakes crime, unbelievable mysteries, and the people who cheat the system, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button for Dumamay. We bring you the stories they don't want you to know. Don't miss the next episode. Subscribe to Dumamay now.